Welcome back to the Shine Within podcast. I have here Kyra Mitchell Lewis. She is the founder of a Glow Up Girl, that's GYRL, a dynamic platform dedicated to helping women discover their purpose, build confidence, and create a life and career they love. With over 20 years of experience in marketing and communications, Kyra brings powerful insight and inspiration to her work as a career coach, podcaster, and speaker. Through her podcast and community, she provides women with the tools, encouragement, and real conversations they need to evolve into the best version of themselves. I love that, Kyra. Thank you so much for being on my show. This is a treat because I'm like, oh, I get to see Kyra again. Yes, I was on her podcast, everyone. Yes, and I had an amazing time, and we just connected so well and beautifully that I feel like, you know what? I mean, our podcast names are kind of the same. Shine within, glow up, all the shine, glowing, it's all
Yes.
connected. Yes. So thank you
Yes.
so much for being here today.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited. Like I told you, I was like counting down and knew like today was a doozy, but I was so excited that I was going to be talking to you. So here we are together, my friend, again.
Yeah.
And I'm just really glad to be here on your show as well.
Yes, I'm so excited. Now, Kyra, Glow Up Girl is such a powerful space for women to reflect, to rise, and realign with their purpose. I wanted to go ahead and ask you, what was the moment that actually sparked the creation of this platform, and how has it actually grown alongside your own personal evolution?
I love that question. First of all, that's a great question. I will try to make this story short, but sometimes I can go a little bit on with it. So I would probably say in 2019, I had started my therapy journey in like July of 2019. And it was because I felt overwhelmed. I felt like out of like unbalanced. I was basically people pleasing to just be honest. Like if we're gonna be real about it, I was like people pleasing to the like extent of like I felt like that thing that where it throws the balls in the air and you're like running from side to side trying to catch them because as someone in especially in corporate America, you sort of become like that go-to for your manager. So you never want to let that person down, you never want to let anybody else down. And that was the world that I was living in, is where all the time I was saying like yeah, I can help in a step. I can step in and help on that. I can do that. But then all I was doing was just like a lot of late nights, early mornings, wasn't taking care of myself because I was just like on this 24-hour loop of like, how can I help everyone else but myself, basically? And so I went to therapy. And I remember the first shout out to my therapist, Dr. Corey. I remember like telling her all these things that I wanted to do. Like I was like, this is what I want to accomplish, blah, 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 da, da, da. And she sat there with a straight face and she listened and she listened. And then I talked through some other things. And ultimately she was like, okay, so you don't have any boundaries. And we're going to work on helping you set boundaries first. And she was like, because if you pour everything out of your cup and no one ever gives back to you, I mean, you can't be of service to anyone. And I was like, okay. And then I thought it was like, it's gonna be hard, but yeah, I want to do it. So I started this like I said, July 2019. So as the months started to go by, like I started to say, like people were like, oh, you seem different, right? Like, oh, and then even even in my own household, my husband, he's like, I mean, you seem like, are you sure? Like that doesn't seem like you. And I was like, oh, it's me. And so, as I was going through the process, I noticed a couple of things. A lot of women that I would talk to, a lot of people, oh, I want to go to therapy, but I should go to therapy, but. And then on the other side of that, working in corporate America, there were a lot of like workingpreneurs women who are like, I would love, I'm working on this side hustle, or I would love to start a business. But then also being in that corporate space and feeling like, as women, like you don't really have a safe space to talk about what you want to do because you fear that someone is going to say, oh, well, this person's they're doing their work on company time, or they're trying to leave. We'll get rid of them before. So there were all these like fears that people had. And I just started to think about that. And so around December 2019, I was just thinking, and as I was like reflecting on the year and I was thinking about like, what did I want to do in 2020? What kind of impact did I want to have? I was sitting at the kitchen table writing, and I heard, and me being a spiritual woman, I heard God say to me, glow up. And I looked around first because I was like, what? And then, and it immediately came to me because obviously we know a lot of times, like when you hear the words glow up, you think about like, right, the person who, oh, they glowed up. Look at them now. They look better. But it was immediately that if you could glow up internally, it would shine out for the world to see. And so I just started, it was like this something came over me and I just started putting together like this like plan. I was like, it's gonna be Glow Up Girl. And it's not going to be spelled like the traditional girl, but it's going to be different. And originally it was around like just creating these meetups for women to come together and like learn, share, connect is what you will hear me say a lot about the kind of like the mission, part of our mission was to have women come to a place that felt safe around other women who were, had similar interests and just let's talk about it. Let's get together. Let's find safety amongst each other and help each other out. And so, of course, I'd been working toward like an event to go have an event in Atlanta in May of 2020. Well, we all know what happened. COVID happened. And so we were immediately like what no events, nothing's gonna happen. I said, okay, what am I gonna do? So then I was again like just sort of like trying to think about like sort of praying about like what to do next because I felt like the platform was needed and the community was needed and I just needed to know how to bring that to life. And I was actually in the shower and God does talk to me a lot in the shower. And I heard start a podcast. And then I immediately said, I absolutely think not. I said, absolutely not, God, because nobody wants to hear anything I have to say. What do I have to say? And it's like this went on this back and forth between me and God. Imagine fighting with God, right? Me and God back and forth, me being like, him being like every quiet moment that I thought I had when I was gonna think of like what to do next, he just kept saying, start a podcast, start a podcast. And so then finally I gave in. I said, okay, okay, I'll try it. Like, and really the reason for like not wanting to try it was just fear. It was the fear of putting something out there that people would be able to judge. The fear of someone saying, like, oh God, did you hear her? She said that, And so after a while, I was just like, you know what? I have to move beyond this because he wouldn't keep putting this in front of me like if he didn't mean for me to do it. And so I started Glow Up Girl, the podcast. And as a way to still connect with the community of women that I wanted to, but it also gave a new purpose to bringing people like yourself, people who are doing amazing things, who are helping people, who are shining a light in the world that isn't always so well lit, but to bring those stories and those conversations out for the world to hear. And so I started the podcast. I'm actually coming up on like my fifth season in May. And I will tell you, it's been one of the most like amazing things. One of the best moments of my like personal journey has been like sort of growing alongside the people that I get to interview, growing with my community. Personal, we talk a lot about personal development. We talk a lot about like personal, professional development, and everything that we do. And it's just been an amazing journey because I've continued to learn and continue to grow. And I'm still in therapy, so that I still bring a lot of that stuff into the show each
Yeah.
week.
Absolutely amazing. And yes, listeners, if you get a chance, go check out our podcast and leave her a 5-star review. You will be so enlightened, empowered, and you will feel like you are definitely glowing inside and it'll reflect outside as well. So
Awesome.
make
Thank
sure
you.
to, yes, of course. like I had the pleasure of listening to some of those episodes, and I'm like, wow, and I feel it in my gut, in my heart. You know, when the body reacts to like certain
Mhm.
messages, that's when you know it's for you. It's for you. The message is for you. Yes, and
Awesome.
about wrestling with God, oh my goodness, I've had those experiences myself where it's like, I can't. God's like,
Right?
you will. I said, no. Oh, yes, you will. Okay, I
Oh, right. He's
surrender.
like, look, he's like, okay, all day I can go, we can do this. But you're not gonna move forward in anything else until you do the thing that I've asked you to do. And eventually you just go, okay, okay. And
Right.
and it's one of those things, like I'm sure for you too, like when you started the podcast, like, you sort of just start. Like I planned, but I also just started, and it wasn't the most beautiful thing when I started. But I think that it was authentic. And I started recording on my phone of all places in the beginning. And it wasn't a video in the beginning, it was just audio. And I was doing it on like that Spotify Anchor app. And it was terrible because things were dropping off and everything, stuff was distorted. And it's one of the things that I've to this day have still just gone for it with. Like a lot of times when I'm recording with people and they're like, oh, wait, should we do that again? I'm like, no, because like life happens. And I'm okay with, like, I say crazy things all the time where I make fun of one of the things I truly enjoy in this world is laughing at myself. I'm like, you won't get me because I'm already laughing.
That's hilarious. Yeah, we have a family rules, and then one of them says, make sure to laugh at yourself.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
have to. It's fun. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say that fear, fear always played a role in my past life. I mean, I
Mhm.
still get fearful sometimes. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
It's just fear is an acronym for me is false evidence appearing real. It's not real.
Ah, okay. I like that.
So we just have to like for me, I have to just do it anyway. If I'm scared,
Mhm.
I just got to do it anyway because then I will then
Mhm.
realize, it's this is just a game. We're having fun with this. Let's just try it out. And I
Right.
had did this on my podcast, one of my solo episodes talking about confidence building. And I said, back in the days when in the 80s when we played Super Mario Brothers, all those Nintendo lovers, and then we would try to fight Bowser and then to save the princess.
Yes.
Did we just give up when we died?
Oh my
No,
God,
we
no.
tried 5 times, okay? So we keep trying until we save that princess.
Right? I mean, oh my God. It's so funny that you even bring that up because I was looking at on TikTok, and sometimes like people sort of like play these old games from the 80s, and
Yeah.
somebody was playing Mario Brothers and they were showing like how, I don't know, you remember like when you were going into Bowser's
Yeah.
like his castle, and that little thing, the fire thing was spinning, but you
Oh,
could get like you could hit it and get the coin or the mushroom, but you had to time it perfectly. And the person like showed how they did it like 10 times before it actually worked, before they got it. And I thought to myself, I was like, oh my God, that was me. I was like, that was me. And then in the 90s, it was like Sonic the Hedgehog, just doing it, just like, yes.
oh my goodness.
Oh my God. The message that we're sending is like, don't give up.
Yes, I was a huge Sonic the Hedgehog fan, Mortal Kombat fan. It was
Yes.
interesting. Like in elementary school, my mom, because I got good grades in elementary school, and so she's like, "Oh, I'm going to reward her with a game console." So
Nice.
I'm like, I don't know if that was a good idea because I was during summertime, I was just on there playing
Right?
Sonic the Hedgehog. I even got the book, I think, for the cheat sheet. It was
It
just fun.
was so fun. Like it was so fun. Like I think about like that casino board. Like
Oh
that
my
was one of
God.
my favorite Sonic boards. And I
Yeah.
love that you brought up Mortal Kombat because I mean we love to play Mortal Kombat. And then when the movies came out, like we were like there. I was like, we're
Yes.
there.
Oh, I
Oh,
love it. Yes.
oh,
So, as you would a video game, go ahead and keep trying and keep going because eventually you're going to make it because you've had
yes.
all this practice, all this
Yes.
practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just got to commit to it.
That's right. Now, I know you've been leaning into affirmations. Like I speak to myself with positive words all the
Hmm.
time, because why would I talk to myself negatively anymore? Because I
Right.
would even talk to my children that way or a stranger or no, it's not happening.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so leaning into affirmations, also trusting the timing of your life.
Yeah.
Something that, like I mentioned, I think I try to do this like every day. I think it really
Hmm.
does help. Now,
Hmm.
how has this practice actually shifted your mindset or opened new doors for you?
Yeah. Okay. So I would probably say like last year at the end of the year. So I have what I call is it's a glow book. It's called the glow book, and it's got places for you to write like your goals, like your theme for the year, all this stuff. So I'm writing my stuff out for 2025. And one thing that I came to realize is that one of my like love languages is words of affirmation. So it's like words of affirmation. And I was like, oh, yeah, I do like, I mean, but it's affirmations from certain people, right? Like, not everybody, just affirmations from the right people. So I realized, though, that I'm really good at affirming other people. And then I wait for like people to affirm me. But I was like, why don't you just start affirming yourself? Like it's definitely okay. It's just positive self-talk. It's just speaking things to you, to yourself. And so what I made a point of is that I wrote down this set of affirmations that I keep upstairs, like in the bathroom. So one is like where I start my day. I start my day in the bathroom. I start with prayer, my devotional, and then I read those affirmations. And then I have some downstairs here in my office that I read throughout the day. And I will tell you, Gina, it's been like amazing because just from January to like now we're at the end of March, like I've just felt like being more positive with myself and speaking these things. I've seen like a lot of doors open. And trust me, when it even in the month of January where it felt like it was 5 years long, I still saw like magic happening. And so I have been telling everybody I know, all of my friends, like, write down the affirmations, like, write down the set that is meaningful to you and speak them throughout the day. Don't miss a day. Like, just it doesn't take much. I always, like I said, I read my devotional, I pray, and then I end with that, and I end it with, like it's still within my time with God. Like, I am telling that to myself, but I'm also letting him know, like, this is how I see my life. This is what I want. This is what I'm speaking into existence. This is the way I choose to speak about the things that are happening in my life. And one thing that, like one that I have down like here in my office is, and I think it's so important for like a lot of women, I will not let the fear of being seen hold me back from my dreams. And so if we just think about like me telling even the story of how I got started and getting into the podcast, like the fear of being seen by someone and maybe being judged by someone was like going to hold me back if I did not just say, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's been, and one of my affirmations, even though it's a scripture, because it's my favorite scripture, which is Jeremiah 29:11. So, and the way I've chosen to write that one is like I said, for I know the plans you have for me, Lord, plans for peace and well-being, and not disaster, to give me a future and a hope. And so, like, to me, a lot of scripture is just like affirming things. You have to speak them back to yourself, and you have to say, hey, God, because that's how we talk to each other, because he knows he gave me this personality, he made me this person. So I just talk really real with him.
Yeah.
I don't try I don't try to speak in like fancy language. I'm just like, no, God, okay. Now let me ask you this.
I love that.
And we just talk real with each other.
It is so true. Yes, like people think they have to go into this big prayer with these fancy words, and it's like,
Hmm.
no, God already knows what you're going to say before you even say it.
Right, yeah.
Want to
Well,
align, make sure that you're aligning with His will.
yeah, yes. And in all honesty, sometimes I have to apologize because he already knew what I was going to say. And sometimes I go, well, I'm just going to say it because you knew I was going to say it. And I thought it, so you already know. So I'm just going to say it, and then I'm going to ask for forgiveness. And my mom is like, wow, only you. I'm like, well, I'm just being real. I mean, like he knew. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think, yeah, I think that's always I think that's always important, and just to start small, right? Just start small with things like, I've got one that says, I deserve every win coming my way this year.
Mm.
And one I will tell you that is was so timely, sorry. So timely for me is at the end of February. So at the end of February, like I joined a media network last year with my podcast. Shout out to Culture Media and all my people there. And I've been working with them for like a year, and it really, they're really trying to help like women host the podcast, like get advertising and brand partnerships and all that. And so sometimes it can be hard when you're a smaller show because it's just I mean, you're just kind of trying to find your footing and growing. And so, I just feel like, keep doing the work, right? Keep showing up, keep doing the work. And I say that to anybody listening, like just be consistent. Keep showing up, keep doing the right thing. Because I think a lot of times, even with my podcast, even a lot of times when I'm like, well, I mean, I don't know, like, is it ever gonna grow like really big? And then God always sends a person who says to me, like, hey, Kyra, keep like what you're doing is awesome. I love listening to your show. The way you done it out, like whatever, it's just like, okay, yes, keep going and keep being consistent in how you show up for the thing that you're working on. Because like I know, and you probably know this too as a podcaster, like, I mean, when I'm gonna have somebody on my show, there's a certain way that I communicate with people. There's a timeliness to how I communicate, the information that I share. And then when I finish a show and it launches, I mean, I send out creative. I send out clips. I send out an email saying, here are all the things. And, and honestly, sometimes people respond back and say, like, oh, great, this is great, thank you. Sometimes I hear nothing. And I think like it's easy to get discouraged when, most people who are like when they're trying to get on your show are all like, of course I'll promote it, I'll promote it, I'll promote it. And then when it's like out, then you're like, are you promoting? Because I don't see you promoting. But just but
I feel
I
ya.
will just but I will just say like even in that like but I still show up professionally and I still send out all the things. And and I do know like a lot of people have a lot of shows, so they're like spreading them out as to how they market. So shout out to all the people that do that. But in February, the last day of February actually, I got an email from the one of my contact who I work with that culture, and she was like, "You got approved for Spotify Ad Network."
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God. And it was actually like, it was a Friday. So I was still like working, finishing up my everyday job. And it wasn't until Saturday morning that like I was sitting and I was doing some work for Glow Up Girl. And I went in and I started going through all the different platforms and like hearing like real sponsored ad at the beginning of my show and the end of my show. I just like thank God. And I had a moment. I had a moment and I ran upstairs and my husband was asleep. Like I was trying to wait, but because well, he wasn't like up just yet. And I heard him move and I couldn't take it anymore. And I went upstairs and I was just like, oh my God, like I'm like legit. I'm like legit now. Like I'm gonna get paid. I'm gonna make money now. And and I just remember telling him, I said, one of my affirmations this year is that, you know, I will see the benefits of the things that I'm working on. Like all I have to do is be consistent and try.
Mhm.
And then that moment was where I realized that like all the just being consistent to the craft, being consistent and just keep on like pushing forward, brought me to this moment. And God seeing that like, oh, like she wasn't going to give up the first time when it didn't work out. Because I will tell you, I've heard and a lot more no's than I've heard yeses. But in God's timing, it was just like, all you have to do is just you show up and be consistent and do the thing, and I will give you the desire that you've asked for.
Mhm.
So,
Consistency is key. Absolutely. There's been many times where I'm like, same as you, where, you send out clips, you have the links, you do the graphics, everything, and then you get no response back from I'm like, oh, I still love you, but oh,
Yeah, it's like, I mean, can you like try? Like, are
just a
you in?
little
Yeah. Can
bit.
you at least like the post that I'm tagging you in?
Right, right. So yeah, and it does get discouraging, but like you said, just being consistent and just still just doing the
Mhm.
work and just being you, because it's your passion anyway. So regardless, you're just going to continue doing it because
Yeah,
it's something
yeah,
you love to do.
yes.
Same, yeah.
Yeah.
So you talk a lot about helping women discover their unique gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what
Mm-hmm.
is one piece of advice you'd actually go ahead and give to a woman who feels either like lost, who has lost their spark, or
Mm-hmm.
doesn't know where to begin?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would probably say a couple of things. Like spend some time with yourself, right? And think about those things that you probably think are quirky, or you say, like, oh, it makes me weird. Well, those are the things that are unique and special about you. So take time and like write those things down. Also, if you're a person who likes to take assessments, like I would say, and I will always say this one, Strength Finders is a great assessment to take because Strength Finders focuses on the unique things about you. It helps you to discover like what's so special about me, right? So usually it is used in like a professional setting, but I've taken it in the professional workplace and outside. And it's one of those things that where a lot of assessment spends time telling you that these type of people are the people that are going to do well and succeed. Strength Finders is like, here are the top five strengths you have. Now you can unlock, I mean, I think there's like I think there's 44 of them, and you can unlock all 44 and it'll give you an order. I did that because I was like, ooh. But when I took that, it really helped me to focus in on what made me unique, what value I brought to the table to teams, whether it was corporate teams or if it was like personal things. But it doesn't allow for you to sit in the space where you feel down about the fact that you're like, oh, well, I do this weird thing and it's not actually really weird. It's the thing that you do that probably no one else does. And it's the thing that you can add value to, a project or a job or a team. And I always tell people, I'm like, it takes all the personalities to make a team work. It's not just one set of people who do well and exceed, succeed because they have these personalities. It takes all the people. It actually takes smarter people to be able to recognize that it takes all the people. So if you're someone out there and maybe you're corporately working in a corporate environment and you've taken some of these assessments where people are like, oh yeah, like these personalities do extremely well. I think it's actually more refreshing when you can look at the different personalities and see how they all fit together to make a really unique and robust and strong team.
Yes. So we all have gifts. Even you're like, I don't have a gift. Have you ever helped anyone in your life? I'm pretty sure you have. So it's
Right.
like, that is a
Yeah.
gift. You're giving a
Mm-hmm.
gift.
Yep.
So
Yep.
everyone has a gift. God does not make mistakes.
Mm-mm. And sometimes it takes us a little bit longer to like figure them out.
Right.
But I think if you just open your mind and your heart to it, and if you are someone of faith, just pray about it.
Mhm.
If that's important, if you're a prayer, a praying woman, man out there, just pray about it and ask for direction and guidance because um the world we live in is not often kind to those who, I'll just say, like people who seemingly appear more introverted,
Mhm.
um, people who are not the first to speak, those who may, kind of vibe to march to the beat of your own drum. Like those are the people who catch my attention, are the people who are like, I don't need to fit in with everybody. Those are people who definitely catch my eye in like the world because I'm one of those, like I'm definitely a person who I'm like I think somebody said they were like, I was on a work trip last week and there was someone on a trip and they were like, "Oh, I'm like extroverted. I like feed off of like the crowd, like all the people being here." And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, I'm an extrovert." I said, "But I think the time that from the pandemic on, like I've become more of an extro intro."
Hmm.
Because it's like, yeah, I enjoy it, but I also need to like refuel myself and I need quiet time. And I'm definitely okay with being by myself. Like, you hear people who work from home and they're like, yeah, but it gets lonely. And I thought to myself, I was like, oh my God, I never get lonely. It's just like if I never had to step foot back in anybody's office, like I'm here, I got my dog here with me, and I'm like, with all the stuff in my house to do, like if I want to take a break, I can just go sit outside. There's so many things that I could do that don't require me to feel like I'm lonely. And so, I would just say to people, like, embrace who you are. Like, don't feel like you have to be something that you're not. And if the people around you don't understand it, if they're not like open-minded enough to like have a conversation with you about what motivates you, because I think that's always important, especially no matter what relationship, whether it's a work relationship or a personal relationship, understanding what motivates someone
Hmm.
and what fuels them, because we're not all wired the same way. We don't all need to be in people's face like 85. Like I was burnt out last week after, like I went I went I went in on Monday, had dinner on Monday night. Tuesday had an all-day meeting at Google, and then Wednesday an all day in the office, and then an after work event, and then Thursday an all day in the office. And I was like, by Thursday at 3 o'clock, I was like, please nobody talk to me.
I bet.
I was like, I need to refuel.
Oh my goodness. Yes. And going back to what you were saying about being lonely, we're never alone. We are
Right.
never alone, and especially if you have a connection to God. You're
Hmm.
definitely not alone. You have a spiritual team up there rooting you on,
Yes.
cheering you on, and are just
Yeah.
waiting for you to see that for yourself. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And you just have to talk. Yeah. I think, like you said, like you've got a team and he's there and you can talk to him at any time. And I think, like, sometimes there's the stigma of people feeling like you have to be in this certain place, like in a spot to be able for God to hear from you. I'm like, no, he hears from you like all the time.
mhm,
If you're sitting and typing at your desk and you're saying, you're thinking, well, God, I just don't know. Well, he hears that too.
mhm,
And so it's just important, like I think for people to like just realize that like he wants to be your friend.
mhm.
He wants to be your friend and he wants to for you to communicate with him in whatever way is easiest and simple for you. And you just start there because I'm always having random conversations with God throughout the day and talking out loud. So,
Yes, those are the best conversations. Are the
yeah.
best. It really is a relationship, you know.
Mhm.
Like I talk to God like I talk to my husband. We just with
Yes.
love and just I just
Yeah.
if I'm not in a good place, I'm like, hey, today I'm not good today. What's
Yeah.
going on? Can you
Like
help me?
I know, like what you want me to do with this day? I mean, what am I was I supposed to get something from this? Because I don't know. I might have failed today.
Yes.
I'm really good at night as going, I don't know. I think I might have failed today. I mean, we don't want a redo of the same exact test, Lord, but maybe a different one. And next time, I promise you I'm a pass.
Right. Oh, I love that. And I was thinking about like the first podcast that I've ever did was with my husband.
Oh.
He's the only male who's been on my podcast. The rest are all female. And we were like, what should we talk about? And we just started talking about God. That was my very first
Hmm.
episode. And then one time I actually had him interview me, but we used my cell phone on that one. The first one he did the Zoom from upstairs and I was in the computer downstairs and it was so funny because you can like hear the echo. Anyway, if anyone wants a good laugh or some good conversation to hear, definitely go and check out my first episode with my husband. And then
Nice.
another one that we did was with my phone, but then our cat was just like messing around. You can just hear it. But I put it out there anyway because it's so
Yes.
authentic and so real and so fun that I'm just like,
Yeah.
it's for fun. And I
Yeah,
think
like
those are the best conversations.
I think so too. I think like yeah, especially too like when you are in even like interviewing somebody and you kind of go off the notes and you're
Yeah.
just like talking and it's like I'm like yeah, like it's cool. Like this is maybe this was where our conversation was supposed to go for the people out there that need to hear it. So that's
Yeah.
why I always ask people, I'm like, as long as you're open to like, if we just let this conversation guide, like we're gonna go, and if it leads us down a left versus a right, like, are you okay with that?
Right.
And yeah, as long as people are cool with that, then I'm like, let's go.
Yes. And speaking about meaningful conversations, let's talk about on your podcast, what's
Yeah.
actually one message from a guest that really stood out to you and affirmed something that you actually needed to hear?
Oh my God. I feel like
So
there's
many, I'm
been,
sure.
I
Every
know. I just,
episode, I'm sure.
I mean, I just almost like drew a blank because there have been like some really great people on there and they just I think they just have always worked in their own ways. And I don't think they know this, but they have worked to affirm like when I was thinking about it, I was like, I'm talking about but they have like affirmed things in my life and not even like not even known it, right? Because I think there was oh my God. I don't want to like I feel like I've had so many good people, so I don't want to like call anyone out specifically, but I will definitely say that I feel like everybody that sort of touches this or shares this screen with me, I have learned from. I have taken something new from. I have just learned to just be more vulnerable in the moment with some of the conversations. And I think it's like always listening to someone else's journey. Like we think all the time that like, oh my God, I'm having a tough time. Like it's tough for me. And some of the people that I've interviewed and just like listened to like stories of like their childhood, how they've grown up, or whether it's like women who have like, gone through suffered like abusive relationships and survived and have been able to like start new or just people who have like been in corporate jobs and they had an idea and they have been willing and open to share with the community like how they actually did it. Like those are just so meaningful to me, those conversations because they're real. And what we want to do and what I strive to do with my show and the platform is provide people with like tactical information, real life steps to do something. But we also talk about the failures, right? So
Mhm.
we want to fail fast. We want to fail fast and we talk and people talk about that. And I think that's one of the things that I love most about the guests that come on. I'm like, if you can't give us like the real, then I don't want you coming. Like we're because you're what I don't want to be a part of is someone saying I was in corporate or I had this job and then I had an idea and then I next thing I know I made $1 million. And I can teach you how to do it too if you just pay me $5,000. Like I'm like, if that's your message, like do not come on my show because a lot of people are just like me, where they are workingpreneurs, and life is hard. It's hard to get grants. It's hard to get funding for companies, and especially for women-owned companies. And I'm like, so if you can't come and tell us how to do it for real, like then I'm sorry. Because I'm not just out here. I want people to succeed. Because I interview a lot of coaches and I'm like, and I want them to find business and I want them to find like good partners, for their business. But I'm like, but just don't come on try and sell my people something for like, $99 a month and we'll get you there. Like I actually found my coach that we're not coaching right now, but one of the coach that I have for a few years, I actually interviewed her on my podcast.
Oh, wow.
And she never asked me anything about like during the process about like, oh, you should, come let me coach you. It was actually when I finished that interview with her and I left that conversation and I said to myself, I said, oh my God, like, and she's a coach. Like, I think I want to have her coach me. And I reached out to her and I was like, I don't know if you're accepting new clients, but can we talk about like maybe working together? And that to me was like the most like authentic moment because she didn't try to sell me on anything. Because I've had people, you probably have too, maybe. I've had people who have been on my show and then like they kind of do the reach back where it's like, hey, it starts out where it seems like it's like a mutual like exchange of information, right? Like
Yeah.
maybe we're gonna partner and help each other, but it's like you get on the call and it's a sales call. And it's like for $15,000,
Oh,
I
jeez.
can get, yeah, for $15,000, I can get you X number of leads. And I'm like, wait, who's just got like $15,000 like just sitting there? Because I mean, I don't.
I don't either.
I was
There's
like,
no
but
way.
well, what we can do is we can put it on a credit card. And I was like, no, we will not put it on a credit card because I do not like to buy things that I cannot pay for.
Right? Oh,
So
I hear you with that.
very long-winded way of saying, as you, long-winded way of saying that I have been touched in a lot of ways by a lot of different people throughout this process and on this journey of podcasting.
Yes, I was saying to somebody recently who was on my show that I love learning from all of the people that have been on my show. This is
Mhm.
why I have the podcast. Not only is the message going out to the world to help
Yeah,
them, but I'm learning in the process.
exactly.
And
Yes.
I'm meeting awesome people in the meantime.
Yes, exactly. And I think like too, I think somebody asked me this recently, like, have you ever had a guest that you didn't agree with or and I was like, yeah, I can specifically still see the guest. It was a guy. And I was like, it wasn't that I disagreed with him. It was just a different way of thinking.
Right.
Like he, and I'm not singling out men here, or just saying, but I think a lot of times men approach things very logically. And it's like, it's written on the paper, and the instructions say this, and this is how we should approach it. And when in his conversation, sort of led in that way. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, wow, this is like the total opposite of how every woman that comes on my show speaks about, he's like, yeah, like, you don't need to journal. He was like, you don't need to journal. You just need to do da da da. And the reason, why, the reason, because it was and my sister was like doing my editing at the time. She was like, oh my God, like this conversation, was it tough for you? And I said, actually, it wasn't because talking to him before and after, he didn't mean anything malicious by it.
Mhm.
It was just, that's the way he is wired.
Mhm.
And that is how he communicates how he thinks a problem should be solved. And I said, and after we got finished, he like asked me 12 times, is that okay? He's like, I just want to make sure that like your audience will get something out of it. And I knew when he said that, I knew that his intent was pure
Mhm.
and that he wasn't there to try to like be combative or fight me on styles. But then what it opened me up to was that, you know what? There could be some women who see it this way.
Possibly, for
So I
sure.
don't want to put all women in a box and say that like every woman says like I must journal my feelings or whatever. So that's why I went forth with it. And I said, yeah, I was fine with going forward with it because I felt like at his heart he wasn't like a bad person. He just saw problem solving differently from the way I saw it. But my job as a podcaster is to bring forth different opinions from mine.
Different views, they're important, that
Yeah,
we can learn from them too. Like, oh, I didn't look at it that way, but now I
exactly.
can. And
Yeah.
it's like,
It was
oh, light
yeah, it
bulb
was
moment
like I
sometimes.
was like he was like not like he wasn't looking at a decision like heart based. Like he was looking at it from like he wanted all the facts first.
Yeah.
And that was fine because I mean my husband's the same way. Like he wants to look at things very logically and
Mhm.
without the feeling. He always says, remove your feelings from the conversation. And every time I go,
But I
and then I'm
can't.
like,
That'd be like me.
oh, I said, okay, how about we meet in the middle? We look at some of the feelings and we look at your logic. And then we try to like form a solution from that. And I think like that's the thing that's important. Not to just tell somebody, and no, you're stupid. No.
Oh my goodness, a funny story real quick is that whenever my husband like something happened, we get a little tiff and he's like, "Oh, you got me all stressed out. I said, I didn't get you stressed out. You got yourself stressed out. I'm fine.
Well, you're the one huffing and puffing over there, not
I
me.
didn't get it. I have to
Like,
always remind him sometimes. It's funny. We're totally fine afterward, but he'll get like, "Ugh,
yeah,
why are you
yeah.
stressing me out?" I'm like, I'm not. It's not my
I
intention.
I love that. And don't you love I love how like at times when like they're never mad and like we're still mad and my husband's like, oh, I forgot about that. Like right after like we disagreed about it. He's like, you're still on that? And I'm like, oh, I mean, but now I've just gotten much better at it. Now I'm just like, you know what? Like
Yeah.
I don't, and I apologize to you in the audience because it's like I'm going to this other thing, but this just became so real to me. It's like when you think about like the time that we have in our lives, the time we have in this world, the time you may have with the person that is your person that you were purposed to be with, it's
Mhm.
like it's a very short time, even though it seems like a long time, right? Like
Right.
I was like this year for us, like we are coming up on 25 years being together.
Oh,
Actually
wow.
this month. I think it was the 24th, I believe, like when we started dating. And in June, we will be married 20 years.
Wow.
And I thinking to myself, I'm like, wow. It's like instead of like you trying to like be mad at somebody, it's like, isn't it more pleasant when like it's pleasant together
Yeah.
and like you're figuring out how to like solve problems together?
Right.
And like you're working as a team together and just like really sort of cherishing the time that you have because it can be it could be gone tomorrow. So I'm
Hmm.
really trying to like definitely like focus in on just another tip if you were like wondering about like things I'm working on, like just really trying to be present in the moment of like even in my relationship because it's like it's not guaranteed tomorrow.
Right.
Like we're not guaranteed tomorrow. And I think like as you get older, you really start to like realize that.
Yeah.
Back in the 20s, I was like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, oh yeah, I can be mad at you because I've got like years to get over it, you know? And then as you start to get older, you start to think like, well, life is really like invaluable. And
Mhm.
I don't want to spend the time like arguing about nothing.
Right. Yes, I mean, it's so much more pleasant when we're just happy together, my husband and I, and those little tiffs, they actually go away a lot faster than like I forget
Mhm.
about what happened, he forgot what happened, and I mean, what just happened?
Yeah.
Oh, we were arguing
It,
not that long
it's
ago.
it's great when you get to that stage in a relationship where you're not holding on to things. You're not holding grudges. Because some
Yeah.
people can. I mean, and I'm like, well, I don't know, like I don't have time to remember that. I was like, oh, I was mad at you.
My ego always got in the way long time ago in past relationships, and I would never say sorry. Like
Hmm.
I just had a horrible ego. But now, if I'm wrong, I will genuinely say, you know what, I'm
Hmm.
sorry. My
Yeah.
bad, my
Yeah.
mistake. I'll own up to my mistake.
Right,
Because,
right.
and I'm okay with that,
Exactly.
and I'm okay with that. And then it
Yes,
just makes everything
exactly.
go smoother. And he's like, oh,
That's
okay.
a growth, Gina. That's growth, girl.
That is growth. That's
Yes.
right. Oh my goodness. I
Yes.
can talk to you
I
forever, but
know.
maybe I just have to invite you again. We can talk forever. But last question for someone who's listening today and who's trying to rebuild their confidence and even start trying to trust themselves again. What gentle encouragement would you go ahead and offer to them?
Yeah, I would definitely say find you some affirmations. Find affirmations, write them down, carry them with you, put them in your phone if you need to have them in your phone, if you don't have a place where you can stick them. I went old school sticky style. I've got them on sticky notes everywhere. Start there and start to affirm yourself. And also, I would recommend something that I did for a year. It's almost like I call it the glow box. So don't no one take my idea. It is like in the process. But I made a glow box, which is like it's a box. It has, if you're a vision board person, it's basically a vision board on a box. So I made it and then I cut a slit in the top and I dropped in every day something that happened, whether it was something good or something bad. And so I did it for a year and I opened them like right at the end of the year. and I read through all the notes to myself. I wrote letters to myself. I wrote some affirmations in there. I wrote some things that have gone wrong, you know. But I think so maybe if you want to start small, like you maybe just start, get a jar so you can like not, destroy it, get a jar and maybe monthly put in things that happen and then maybe go a quarter. So go 3 months and then open it back up and read those things. And I will tell you, it'll be something pretty amazing to see like the things either that you thought were big things that weren't really big things, or the things that you thought were losses, but really was like God just like saying you thought they were delays, but it was God saying like it's not the right thing. I've got something better for you. And I think something like that helps us to see if you are a person of faith and you are sometimes our faith can waver when things aren't going the way we exactly if we're in a season that doesn't feel like a season of growth and opportunity for us. This will help you like stay strong. Something like this helps you to just remember because we go through life and there's so much information happening there between our phones and TV and like just conversations. There's so much happening. So write it down. Journal it if that's easier for you. If you're like, Kyra, I don't have time to be doing a jar, gratitude jar, a glow box, write it down. But just start, or even do notes to yourself on your phone. If you're somebody who does, wants to type notes in your phone or send yourself voice memos. But create a way to be able to go back because I promise you, if you start the process of like the affirming, you start the process of saying, like, I am confident, I do deserve to win. You just got to start by instilling that self. Nobody else is going to see it if you don't see it first. So that would be definitely the last piece of advice is that you have to see it in yourself and you have to speak it because if you don't, nobody else will.
Yes, and I love that. That's how my husband was created, was actually a prayer box.
Nice. All right.
I don't know if I ever told you that story. Did I tell you this
No,
story
you
before?
didn't.
Okay, so
No,
I'm going to tell you. I know my
tell
audience
me.
probably heard it many times before, but I'm just going to say it again. So during my early sobriety, I did not want to date anybody. I'm like, I'm done with men. I just want to date Jesus. I was like, that's all I wanted to do. So I started going to church. I didn't grow up religious or spiritual. And so, but I was being led to go to this particular church.
Hmm.
And so what happened is there's a prayer box and either before a service, or after service, you can go ahead and write on the prayer card and then you just put it on
Hmm.
there. And so that's what I was doing. One day I want a family unit, but I was thinking about maybe 10, 20 years from now,
Hmm.
family unit, thank you, and pray for so and so also, box, 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 put.
Right,
And but I was like I told you, I was thinking 10 to 20 years from now,
right,
from
right.
then. So but next year, the year after that, I was serving children's ministry, and there was this little boy that reminded me of my son, and I was like, "Oh, he's so cute." And then I would not really pay attention to his father picking him up, but I did see him, and I didn't see a
Hmm.
mom with him. I was like, "Oh, is he a single
Hmm.
dad?" I didn't really pay attention. I'm like, "Okay." Well, one time I was also serving, doing street ministry, serving the street friends.
Hmm.
And we were packing up our cars, we were different teams, and then I saw him talking to one of my friends. And so I just wanted to go say hi to my friend. And then I wanted to mention that, oh, by the way, I know your son. He's such a good boy. Oh,
Hmm.
you know my son? I said, yeah. So a week later, he had added me on Facebook. Then a week after that, then he messaged me, hey, I see that you have a son, close to my son's age. Maybe we can get the children to come play together.
Okay.
And I was like,
Okay.
oh, here we go. Another guy wants to, date. And I was like, oh, all right. But I'm like, why not? Why not?
Hmm.
But we never got the children together. We started chit-chatting on Facebook Messenger, and I just felt like I knew him. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness, I feel like I know you already.
Yeah.
And so it was just divine timing, and
Hmm.
God thought you're ready.
That prayer box worked. Now I did know that you met in church, but I didn't know that you done the prayer box, nor did I know that that's how you all started to talk. So I'm like, okay, I see that. Yes, that prayer box, them boxes
Those
work.
boxes work. Okay.
Them
Glow
boxes,
up box, prayer box, whatever you want to call it, it
whatever,
works.
yes,
It
whatever
works.
box you want to name it for yourself, it works.
It works.
It's just it's It's just, I think, as we said earlier, it is just also just being consistent with something. Because
Absolutely.
in all things, like if you are praying and you're wanting God to like move on your behalf, it's like you have to be able to show him that you're going to be consistent in it. Like it's not what's giving you something and then you're going to be like, okay, never mind, I didn't really want that.
Yeah.
Or or you get it and then you just completely like say, oh, I blundered it, on to the next. So yeah, I think that there's a lot in being consistent as well. And
Yeah.
trust yourself. Like, trust yourself. Like, I think that I have very good intuition. I think it's a gift.
Mhm.
That, I always trust my gut. Like, and I think that, like, I refer to it being the Holy Spirit telling me. Like, I think that when the Holy Spirit is talking and telling me, like, I don't think so, Kyra. And then I'm like, I got you. I don't think so either.
Yes, that relationship's important.
Yes.
Oh, well, thank you so much for being on my show today. I really enjoyed our conversation, and I just cannot wait for this podcast to air.
I
Everyone's for
know,
a
I
treat.
know. I could definitely, yeah, I could definitely be here talking to you all the time. So it is really, really great to be with you again and just get to chat. And I mean, y'all keep listening, keep writing reviews for Gina. Like just keep writing reviews because they really do help podcasters and they help, to open up to more people and share this show. Like make sure you're sharing her podcast out there with your friends. Sharing is caring after all.
Yay! Well, thank you. Yes, and don't forget to get those 5-star reviews for Kyra as well. Glow up, girl. Gyrl.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.